What's up, YouTube? Pastor Matt here. Thanks for checking into my YouTube channel. We're going to talk about ministry resumes today. In fact, I'm going to go through my own CV with you a little bit here to help you. I don't know why people ask me these questions all the time, but I do get the question all the time. How can I improve my resume? How can I improve my CV? How can I get a job, make myself look a little bit better on paper to get that ministry job that I'm looking for? I suppose the reason people ask me this question is that in terms of the Presbyterian world, I've been on what's called the ministerial committee for multiple years, and so I've helped a lot of candidates work through the application and interview process. So we're going to do that today. We're going to look at a ministry resume, but before we get there, let me first of all thank you for checking in. Invite you to my church, Gospel Fellowship PCA. If you're anywhere north of Pittsburgh, please come check us out. We're a Reformed church, PCA. Love Jesus, believe the Bible is true, on a mission to share the good news of the gospel with the world. So if you're looking for a church like that and you know somebody north of Pittsburgh, or you are north of Pittsburgh, please check us out. Okay, let's get into ministry resumes. Here's the general rule about applying for a job. You want to come off incredibly humble in the interview, of course, because humility is a wonderful character trait. But on your resume or your CV, you do want to brag about yourself as much as possible. You want to name every single thing that you've done to an exhaustive degree that will boast, essentially, I use that word in quotation marks, of your qualifications. In other words, you want to put yourself into position on your CV or your written resume such that you adequately, without lying, without expanding the truth in any way, no exaggeration, that's a fatal mistake, but you do want to detail all of your ministry experience and credentials such that you appear to be, and in fact perhaps you actually are, the most qualified candidate for the job. Chances are you have a ton of ministry experience that you did not yet put on your resume, and a future church or parachurch ministry might need to know that. It could be incredibly relevant to them. Now, I would say this, if that was the first rule, to put everything on your resume and then be incredibly humble in your interview, the second rule is keep your resume sharp all the time. Constantly sharpen your resume. I keep my resume sharp all the time. And it's not because I'm looking for a job. In fact, I hope I never have to look for another job again. If I do look for a job again, something has gone terribly wrong, because my plan is to stay at Gospel Fellowship for just as long as I'm possibly able to do so, and it's still the Lord's will for my life. All right, but I keep my resume sharp all the time, constantly adding updates to it, constantly changing the statistics. My children's ages, I constantly update them. I do have a little family section at the top. Every single time I publish something, I immediately put that on my resume because I don't want to have to go through the process of trying to look it all up if I do find myself needing to show my resume or my CV. Now, there are times when you're going to need your written resume or your CV, and you're not looking for a job. You say, well, why would I need that? Well, just the other day, check this out, I was submitting a manuscript proposal to a publisher. Won't say much more about that for the moment, but I was submitting a proposal to a publisher, and they ask for the general things that all publishers want in terms of the book proposal. Get an email 24 hours later, hey, by the way, send us your CV, we're interested in your background. Well, boom, I could immediately do that, no problem. It's completely updated, totally detailed to the moment, because every single time I add an experience, a credential, a publication to my CV, I immediately add it so it's updated at all times. So I've got on my other screen here my own CV opened up, and forgive me if I look to the screen here a few moments, but we're going to start at the very top. You're going to have your name, your address, your phone number, your email address, and then we're going to put a box of our personal information. We're going to talk about who we're married to, our spouse's name, our children's names. We don't want to give any more information out than that, but we do want to indicate what our family status is. Gives a good indication of your marriage, how long you've been married. You don't need to detail this in a sentence, but we're putting it in bullet point fashion. Immediately after that, we're going to put our ordination. If you are ordained, put who ordained you, what denomination, what presbytery, what body rightly ordained you if you have an ordination. And then we're going to get into our education. Now, the education, I always would say this, don't put it in chronological order, put it in order of most importance so that the best educational requirement you have sticks out at the very top of your CV. So in my case, that would be my doctorate. If you have a doctorate, mention what your dissertation was on, put who your supervisor is, put who your second reader was. If you don't have a doctorate, put your master's degree. If you don't have that, put your bachelor's degree. If you don't have that, put any other educational information that you may have, and always brag with the first stuff at the top, the most important stuff. Then you're going to go into your ministry experience section, and this is where you're going to talk about who you worked for, your various churches, what they were like, how many members they had, what kind of ministry you did, and you're going to detail exactly what your responsibilities are. Now, there used to be a rule with CVs that you had to get it all in one page, the old one-page resume. Forget that. If you're looking for a real ministry job, that's a hard job. It's a job that takes a lot of qualifications to be a gospel minister. So your CV is going to be much longer than just a one-page resume. If you're working for McDonald's, one page is fine. If you're applying for a ministerial position, give the details. Put your churches in order from most recent to furthest in distance. Next section, professional associations and societies. You might not have any of these, but if you are a member of a presbytery, if you are if you're in a society, I'm in the Jonathan Edwards Society. We study Jonathan Edwards together. If you're in a ministerial group or a ministerial committee, if you meet regularly with other pastors, list that. Next section, international missions work. Put all of your mission trips. That's important. If you've seen the world, you've been to different places on planet Earth, put that in your CV. That's excellent. Next section, your denominational service. If you've done anything for your denomination, either locally, regionally, or nationally, put that in there. Talk about the committees that you've been on and tell exactly what your committee has done. Next section, and this is where you have to keep your resume updated constantly. Put all of your invited lectures or courses taught. So if you've been invited to speak somewhere else, if you've been brought in as a guest speaker, even if it's the local Christian athletes, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, whatever, put that in there. You were an invited speaker for that. If you've ever taught a course as a guest speaker, if you've ever been to a college to give a day lecture, put all of that in there as invited lectures and courses taught. Okay, that could be a much fuller section for some than for others. Now, not everybody's going to have this next section, but if you do, you want it to be as detailed as possible, and that's going to be your written publications. Okay, written publications, and once again, we're going to start with the most impressive and work our way to the least impressive. So if you've written a book, we're going to start that off as category A, print books, list all of your print books. After that, you're going to put chapters contributed in print books, because not all books are written by one person. Sometimes there's contributed chapters, right? If you've done any of those, put those in there. Next section, academic journals, print first. Print is better than just digital, although there's nothing wrong with digital writing. Nothing wrong with that, so put that in there. Encyclopedia articles, printed articles, online and digital articles. And here we might have to be a little bit selective, because if you're a blogger, if you've written for various websites, put your best articles with the links to the website so that a future employer can go and actually check those out. Now, I've got a ton of those, so I just put my best ones on there, maybe 10, 15 of those or so. And that's gonna carry on through your writing experience. Now, is digital scholarship less worthy than printed scholarship? Well, in some ways, yes, but in some ways, no. Obviously, we're changing things quickly here in the world of technology, and an academic but digitally web-only article is still worthy of putting on your CV. So if you've written for a group like the Lab, the Logos academic blog, I put stuff on there. If you've written for Themelios through the Gospel Coalition, whatever other digital modern Reformation, if you've written for whatever it is, put that on there. Okay, next section, blogging or internet publications, if you have anything related to that. And then here's another big section for me, continuing education, conferences attended. Don't forget to put your conferences. If you've been to Ligonier, if you've been to Together for the Gospel, put that on there. Detail them, the city, the place, the date, any additional lectures that you went to. That's all considered continuing education. Okay, that looks good on a resume to have all that kind of stuff. What that says is you're the kind of person who likes to keep the axe sharp educationally. Even after you've graduated, you're still learning, and so put that on there. Next section, community service. What do you do in the community? Do you volunteer in the schools? Are you the volunteer soccer coach? Are you part of any boards for any other ministries? Put that all on there. Okay, and then your final sections you're going to put would be a general philosophy of ministry statement. Put however you think ministry should look. Give us a couple of paragraphs on that. And then the final section, you could put your for more information. That would be your social media links, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube page, your blog, whatever it is. You can put that on there so people can go and find more about you online that they might not just come up with through a regular old Google search. Okay, now as a separate document, I also have a full testimony statement written out because some churches or presbyteries are going to ask for that anyways. So you can go ahead and write out a full testimony. You don't want to give them a book, but you do want to give them 2 or 3 pages of how you came to Christ and grew in your relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. So you can put that. References, you know they're going to ask, so you might as well keep that sharp. Some people put C references or ask for more references. You know they're going to ask for references. If they don't ask for references, that's a problem. That indicates they're not doing a very good job in their hiring practices. So keep your references sharp. The final thing you might need for some ministry jobs, and this is going to vary depending on place to place, is you might want to have your own doctrinal statement in which you spell out in some great detail what you actually believe so that churches or ministries may know what they're getting into when they hire you. I find that to be helpful. If you subscribe to a confession of faith like the Westminster Confession or the Heidelberg or the Baptist Confessions, you could put that in there. But it might be also good for you to have at least a 1 or 2 page statement of your Christian faith. All right, so that's a pretty full resume. Mine runs to 13 to 15 pages. Okay, so well beyond the 1-page rule of thumb if you're applying for a Taco Bell job. But a ministry job, you want to really spell out absolutely everything you've done, and that'll give your future employer the best possible look at you. Okay, so don't forget the main rules of resume writing. Number 1, brag as much as realistic. Don't lie, but put it all in your written resume, and then be incredibly humble in the interview. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, keep your resume sharp at all times so that you can give it on a moment's notice if it's asked for any reason. Okay, thanks for checking in. Hope that was helpful to you. Love to hear what you think about this in the comment section of this video. If you've got some ideas that could improve resumes or CVs, drop those down in the comments below. If you're interested, please check out some of my works online. Let me recommend one of my books is called Unknown: The Extraordinary Influence of Ordinary Christians, available on Amazon.com. I'll put a link in the description of this video. Thanks for checking in. Love you lots, and we will chat with you later.